Okay, Randy McKee here with Coach Chris Derry. We're getting ready to do the day's wrap-up here. So, Coach, why don't we go ahead and start with the AA girls. The first thing out of the chute this morning, Pierre and Rapid City Central collided.
It was a great battle.
It was a good match. Everything from, both teams scoring in the first half. Rapid City Central's keeper got knocked out and had to leave the game, ended up in a shootout. Pierre ended up winning that. What a fantastic match.
It was, and both teams played great. Both goals in the first half by Brittany Munyon on a long distance shot from probably about 35 yards, and then the goal from Rapid City Central by Shelby Ashland, who got in behind the defense and put the ball right past Sydney Palmer, and then it was a back and forth battle until the PKs.
Yeah, it was really a fantastic match to watch, and they're geared up to go against Roosevelt tomorrow. Roosevelt, we just found out, just won, I think 3-0 over Yankton, so that should be another good matchup. Stevens, Sioux Falls, Washington.
I didn't get to see much of the Stevens match, but I know earlier on in the season it was a tough battle between Stevens and Washington, and looks like Stevens came out in the match earlier this season. It looks like they prevailed again today with a easy 3-0 win over the Sioux Falls Washington girls, and looks like Stevens is back on track to battle for that state championship.
Well, you see these teams that have been there so many times, and it's just kind of a natural thing for them once they get to tournament. Because I'll tell you, Coach O'Han and those Washington girls have really been turning some heads here the last few weeks. They've really been playing good soccer, so Stevens must have looked pretty good today. Lincoln girls this afternoon took on Brandon Valley, and Lincoln ended up winning that 3-1. That really wasn't a super big surprise for anybody, but Brandon Valley really held their own. And, Brandon Valley is a much improved team this year under Coach Mollett, and one piece of good news we have there is Becca Tripp with Brandon Valley scored the first Brandon Valley goal at a state tournament in at least 6 years. Wow,
that's amazing, and hats off to them for being here, and then hats off to them for competing, because in my mind, I think right now Lincoln is playing probably some of the better soccer out there.
There's a lot of people picking Lincoln, but it's a tournament, and that's why we have to play the games. We don't know. Finally, Roosevelt winning over Yankton in the final match of the day. So tomorrow's matchups then, we'll have Pierre against Roosevelt, Stevens against Lincoln, both going to be exciting matches. Rapid City Central against Yankton, and then Sioux Falls, Washington against Brandon Valley. So that's the AA girls wrap-up. In AA boys, we had some really competitive matches, starting this morning with Washington against Rapid City Central.
Talk about a back and forth battle. That was happening on the field right next to the Rapid City Central and Pierre girls game, and it was a tight match until the second half, and all of a sudden both teams exploded with a flurry of goals, and Washington pulled it out 3-2 over Rapid City Central, and the match was as close as the score says there, and I know there was at least one that I saw, if not 2 goals called back for Rapid City Central, so that game could have been the other way just as easy if it wasn't for a couple of missed opportunities.
Yeah, I got a chance to talk with Coach Dantzler after the game, and he felt really fortunate that they got out of there with a win. Rapid City Central has been a very high quality team all week or all year, and so that sets up another good matchup we'll talk about here in a minute. Yankton and Watertown played, and earlier in the year Yankton hosted Watertown and won 4-0. It wasn't quite that dominant today. Yankton won 2-0. They got their 2 goals in the first 20 minutes of the match, and then Watertown played them very level the rest of the game.
Yep, and it looked like I didn't see who scored both goals, but I know Pacheco got in there for at least one of them, if not both of them. And from what I saw and watching the match, Yankton was definitely trying to push forward and get as many goals as they could, but Watertown, to their credit, played good defense, played good physical soccer out there, and did everything the best that they could to try to get on level terms, and just couldn't pull it out. They ran out of time.
Yeah, they never gave up. They fought hard the whole game. So kudos to both those teams. Very, very well played match. They played like men out there, not boys. Now on to the Lincoln against Pierre. I was in Sioux Falls earlier this year when Lincoln and Pierre tied on a scoreless tie. And the game was very much the same, except 4 goals were scored today, 2 by each team. We made it through the overtime periods and went to a shootout.
It was an even match, and I said this on the radio broadcasting for a radio station that the player of the game today, like the player of the game earlier this year when those two played, was Andrew Brown from Pierre. Had a PK save earlier in the year to keep that game 0-0, and today came up with another PK save in the run of play to keep it 2-2 tie. And then I'll tell you what, it was a battle of keepers in the PK shootout, and you're not used to saying that. And as a former keeper, I'm proud to say both keepers played a great game, and Andrew Brown came up with 2 saves, and the Lincoln keeper came up with 3.
It really surprised a lot of people that Coach Dick Townsend changed keepers before the shootout because he took his reserve keeper, put him in there. The kid stepped up and did a great job.
Yeah, and as a former keeper myself, that would be pretty hard to swallow. And you come in there and you run the gauntlet of the whole game, and then have someone else take the PKs. But it worked for them, and they're moving on to the next round.
5 days ago, Brookings shocked, I guess that would be the word, shocked Roosevelt in Sioux Falls to earn their way into the tournament. And they just got done playing top-ranked Spearfish, and Spearfish is just like they have been, clicking on all 8 cylinders, boy. And so Spearfish ends up beating Brookings 6-0. We're told that Leo Rodriguez, I think, had a hat trick in the match, and possibly Eric Mendez as well. So, that sets up a match that we took a look at earlier, and you may have seen the highlights of Washington against Spearfish. Washington traveled to Spearfish and ended up winning out there. We sat and watched the game with a little bit with one of the Washington coaching staff, and they're really impressed with how Spearfish has improved since then.
Yeah, and Washington, I think, got the advantage of Spearfish coming off of a pretty good win first game of the season, and the second game they come in and play Spearfish to a tough game. I think it was 3-2 or 2-1, and now you have to come do it again, and you have to do it this time when the tournament is on the line and when it really matters. And I'll tell you what, after watching Spearfish today and watching Spearfish in the latter part of this season, it's going to take an effort from anyone to shut that team down from scoring, because they like to score and they enjoy doing it a lot.
They got a powerful team. They're fast. They have a lot of skill. So I guess we'll see what happens after the game. Yankton against Lincoln. That's another very, very good match. Coach Brenner has those boys from Yankton they're playing hard. They believe in themselves, and Lincoln at times today really struggled against Pierre. So it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Dick Townsend's team handles that Yankton pressure.
Yeah, and Yankton, they like playing together. They enjoy playing for each other. They play hard for each other, and that's a credit to the coaching staff and the organization and the kids. That's going to be a great matchup. And I tell you what, the semifinals, Washington, Spearfish, Yankton, Lincoln, that's going to be. There's 2 tough matches there that. I could flip a coin and tell you on whichever day one of them could beat the other one.
Yeah, and then in the consolation round, we're going to look at Rapid City Central against Brookings, and then Pierre against Watertown. Should be another really good match. Those teams, they don't care if they're in the consolation round or not. They're going to play to win. Earlier this year, Pierre and Watertown drew in Watertown in a very, very physical, competitive match. So that should be fun to watch.
Oh, it should be a barn burner, and I know if anyone likes to see a good physical, hard game between a couple of AA boys teams, that one will not disappoint, because both those teams are going to come out wanting to get that 5th place consolation championship match, and it's going to be physical.
Well, on to the A-boys then. We had kind of a surprise result today in one of the earlier matches. T area came in ranked very highly, number 2, played number 7 Huron. Who really haven't really had a fantastic year there, although they earned their way into the tournament. Huron ends up taking T 4-3 in overtime. What a good result for Gary Casperson and his crew.
Yeah, and I watched that game almost the entire match, and I'll tell you what, the 2 kids that Huron had up front, I don't know their names unfortunately, but they were dangerous the entire match. Every time they got the ball at their feet, they were looking for an opportunity to score, and 9 out of 10 times they had an opportunity to put a shot on frame, and they did it, and T got surprised.
Well, in T has really impressed a lot of people with this being their very first year, coming in ranked second and seeded second. So, they still have plenty to play for. It was a big surprise to a lot of people today, but they have plenty to play for in the consolation round. Now on to Harrisburg against Custer. Coach Nick Stebbins' team they feel like they're on a destiny course with Vermilion, and we're gonna get to see, because we're working on those two in opposite brackets. Harrisburg tops Custer 6-0 today.
Yeah, and Harrisburg, that's Custer I think was just outmatched there, but Harrisburg, they're definitely hitting on the cylinders right now.
Okay, this just in then. Hot Springs and Vermilion end up at the end of their match. Number 1 Vermilion defeats the number 8 seed Hot Springs by a score of 9-3. We were watching a little bit earlier when they scored a PK, and we kind of all smiled, because this Hot Springs team is the kind of team that they're very frequently during the course of the game, half the players in the field will be girls.
Yeah, and we watched them right out here, right 50 yards from where we're sitting, and they were excited to score that PK, and then they scored another one just as excited. And they didn't care what the score was; they got to score, and they were happy to do it. And that's the kind of enthusiasm you love to see kids out there playing soccer.
They're doing it for the right reasons, folks, and that sure makes all of us in the soccer community proud. Finally, another score that probably a lot of people didn't expect, the margin here. Sturgis and Belfouche played, and they're kind of natural rivals. Sturgis ends up winning. They pour on the floodgates 5-0 over Bell.
And that's I got to agree with you, Coach. That score kind of shocked me. I was expecting a pretty tight game between two, I thought, evenly matched teams, and obviously Sturgis today came ready to play, and sets up for some interesting matchups tomorrow.
So tomorrow we'll see Vermilion against Sturgis, and then Huron will go against Harrisburg. And like we were talking about earlier, Harrisburg and Vermilion feel, I think, very much like they're going to be meeting each other in the championship round. But as we've seen several times today, that may not be the case.
Yeah, you can't take anything for granted. It's a state soccer tournament. Everyone started out today 0-0-0, and tomorrow the pressure's on. It's semifinals for a state championship, and as we've seen in the past with teams we've coached, the pressure cooker, who can handle it and who can't.
That's why we play the games, isn't it?
Exactly.
Again, tomorrow also the A girls kick into action, so we have the full tournament going tomorrow. So we're gonna try probably to pay a little more attention to A on Friday, just because we paid mostly attention to Double A on Thursday. Going to be a lot of really good matches. We'll be back tomorrow night, Coach Derry and I, with a wrap-up. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you Friday night. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.